The River Thames is the longest archaeological site in Britain, and for centuries people known as mudlarks have been found on the foreshore searching through the detritus for the lost history of London.
But the foreshore is only accessible twice a day, with each visit a race against the clock to gather its offerings, before they are pulled back into the murky depths of the Thames.
So join us and mudlarking icon Nicola White on a patch of the Thames which she promises always throws up a good story.
Hey, it's Lucy and Ellie from Roman Found.
And today you can find us not in a field, but on the Thames foreshore, and with the lovely Nicola.
Hello.
So Nicola, you've brought us to one of your best spots. What are you going to find today?
I'm really hoping to find something with a name on it. That's my favourite kind of find, something I can research and hopefully find a really good backstory to.
Well, where there's text, there's always some excellent history.
There is.
So let's do it.
Mudlarking, despite its recent surge in popularity, is far from a new hobby.
The very first mudlarks were actually Victorian London's poor and destitute, and they were dancing with death every time they stepped foot onto the foreshore. You might think you've heard bad things about the River Thames today, but trust us, in Victorian London it was practically putrid and rampant with deathly diseases. Now these mudlarks weren't searching for historical artefacts, they were sifting through the mud to provide a meagre income for their next meal. Any scrap of coal, rope, bone, iron, copper or anything they could get their hands on. They were regarded as the lowest members of society, ranging from the very young to the very elderly, caked in tattered clothes and a rampant stench.
These first mudlarks are a stark comparison to the London mudlarks of today. The keen historical enthusiasts you'll often spot on the London Underground, sporting wellies, knee pads and a rather muddy-looking backpack. Mudlarking for many is an important escape from the hustle and bustle of London life, and much like metal detecting is for us, a chance to clear the mental fog, embrace the present and look for the past. Have you ever lost a shoe, spotted a lonely soul out on a walk, or a pair of trainers hanging from a telegraph wire? It seems losing footwear is a surprisingly common occurrence, and it's been happening for centuries.
So I've spotted my first, I'll call it a find. It's a very classic Thames
Classic Thames.
find. It's a little leather
Look,
shoe sole.
it's a little shoe.
That's probably like a
That's
child's
tiny.
one. So sweet.
It's really nice, that. Something that we don't find with the metal detector.
No.
For the owner of this sole, however, a small child from the late 19th century, this loss would have borne much more significance than the inconvenience of today. You see, whilst they were in the grips of the Industrial Revolution, which was seeing a wide introduction of mass manufacturing, making consumer goods more widely available, shoes being one of them, here in Victorian London, many children were still barefoot, an act seen as incredibly destitute by society, their parents unable to afford shoes. For this child, a shoe was a luxury, and one they probably couldn't afford to lose or break. So we wonder if they got a scolding on their return from frolicking on the foreshore with one shoe taken casualty, left to tumble around and break apart in the Thames for over a century before landing right here in Lucy's path.
Yeah, that's lovely. Look at that. It's like a tiny toddler shoe. I mean, it's definitely Victorian, I'd say.
Yeah.
Mm.
This shoe sole is the perfect example of the Thames' magical powers, the art of preservation. This is one of the mystical elements of mudlarking that really enhances the draw of this powerful river. You see, this riverbed isn't the same as your average river. It is filled with a thick anaerobic mud that preserves its history in an oxygen-free environment. This means that London's mudlarks can time travel and discover items preserved as if they had been literally dropped yesterday. And this even goes for delicate artifacts made of leather and bone, ones which wouldn't stand a chance of survival anywhere else.
We'd like you to meet Nicola, although you may know her better as Tideline Art, avid mudlarker and artist who's kindly welcomed us into her world for the day. Nicola finds mudlarking as a form of meditation, describing the River Thames as a giant liquid storybook full of fascinating stories from the past about people and places, and we don't think there could be any better description for it.
Here, is this going to be maybe a pot lid fragment, or is there going to be nothing on the other side?
Oh, look at that!
Oh my gosh, look! So, it's something S's. 107 Strand, corner of the Savoy Steps, London.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That's,
Look at that.
isn't that great?
That is brilliant.
Yeah, it's broken in just the right place as well, so we better have a look and see what was there. I'm not sure what that is actually. I've probably seen it before, but I can't remember. But we'll be able to find out. 107 Strand, corner of the Savoy Steps.
So it's worth turning over all those bits of broken pot.
Surely is. Oh, I love that.
This ceramic pot lid fragment contained the 18th century sauce which accompanied Admiral Nelson aboard HMS Victory and Captain Scott to Antarctica.
This was none other than John Burgess's genuine anchovy paste. But who was John Burgess? Well, apart from being an incredibly successful 18th century oilman, Italian warehouseman and sauce manufacturer, he was at his heart a grocer's lad from the countryside in Hampshire, sent in 1760 to the big city to make his trade. And he succeeded. By 1774, John had established his business at number 101 The Strand, importing fine quality Mediterranean goods, such as oils, truffles, olives and the best anchovies from Gorgonea. Then he took things a step further and turned these anchovies into his Essence of Anchovies in 1775, and people went mad for it. By 1778, his business had become so popular he found himself having to move to a larger premises, shifting up the street to number 107, and by 1788 his anchovy sauce had become a household staple. Now, anchovies have been an addictive pleasure for centuries, spread everywhere from Hadrian's Wall to the Middle East in the Romans' fish sauce, the garum, enjoyed as an aperitif by Samuel Pepys in the 17th century, and appearing in early ketchup recipes in 1727. But John Burgess turned them into a beloved nation sauce that was enjoyed for over 3 centuries.
What are the essentials for mudlarking? For those of us who don't know what we need.
Okay, what are the essentials for mudlarking? Well, I'm going to start with enthusiasm and patience, but there's also something else I've got to mention straight away, and that is that you do need essentially to have a permit to go mudlarking on the River Thames, a permit from the Port of London Authority. So once you've got your permit, you're all set to go. So I also, when I go mudlarking, I have a little pouch here to keep my fines in. So knee pads to kneel down, because I like to spend a bit of time kneeling down and just looking really closely at the area around me. I've got my phone with me. You know, if you get into difficulties, obviously it's best to go with somebody else when you're mudlarking, but at least have a phone so that if you do get into problems, you can call up somebody. And also I've got my tide app on there so I can keep an eye on the tide. I take photos of things. So I think that's it for what you need for when you're mudlarking. But really, it's just take your enthusiasm and your passion and just enjoy the river and enjoy the experience and enjoy
the surroundings.
Yeah, enjoy the surroundings, the wildlife, the smells. It doesn't smell too bad down here, does it?
No, it doesn't smell too bad.
And
There's worse out in the fields.
you know, it's just one of these places where you can find Victorian artifacts cozied up to Roman bits and Georgian bits, and it's really quite fascinating. And you're always going to go home with something, even if it's just a button with a name on it.
Okay, spotted a knife.
A knife?
I don't know if it's old, new.
Ooh. Oh, it's very
Ooh.
shiny. Yeah, look, it would have had some kind of bone or ceramic handle or something that's come
Yeah.
off, look.
Interesting. I wonder if there's any like.
Is it silver?
Oh,
Is it
Sheffield.
Stainless?
Firth Brearley stainless.
Ooh.
So we do have some information on there.
Lovely bit of text, that's what Nicola wanted. And I've just spotted more
I
text
don't know
next
how
to you.
old it is though.
Look at this text here.
I know that's.
That is
lovely.
lovely, that. It's a really beautiful shard of a stoneware bottle.
Oh.
I've
That's
seen
like a
over
bit
there.
of,
Oh, a bit of doll face.
porcelain.
It's like something
doll.
everywhere you look, isn't there?
No, look at that.
So cool.
Quite a good spot here.
Good spot, Lucy.
It's important to mention that the Thames is a protected archaeological site, and as such you must hold a current and relevant foreshore permit to search it. These have recently been made available again by the Port of London Authority, but there are only 4,000 standard permits available, and the massive and recent surge of popularity in mudlarking means there's a long waiting list, currently capped at 10,000. We are incredibly lucky to still hold an in-date old permit from before the new rules, but this is a ticking clock. Once our foreshore permits run out, it will likely be decades before we get a chance to gain a new one, so it's important to make the most of every opportunity.
Look at that.
I know.
Is it a little griffin on there?
I think it's a griffin. It's there. Isn't he brilliant?
He is brilliant.
Let's pick him up.
He is like the perfect break, look.
My best pottery find so far.
Oh, I don't know. You're going to have to get them all out and rank them at the end.
Yeah.
Lovely. So I've just come over to this patch of clay because, you know, I hear that that's where all the metal artefacts get all churned together, and you can see there's lots of little bits of wire, bits of nail, and I've just spotted over here something a bit shiny, look. I think it's a little copper button. A find not too distant from the field. 2 holes. Still got a bit of gilt on there, look. Nice and shiny. Maybe I'll stick around here and see if anything else comes up out of this patch.
How does a piece of fine printer's equipment end up in the River Thames? The explosion of the printed word in the 15th century placed London at the very heart of the print trade, possessing over 400 printing firms by 1855. This meant that at any one time, thousands and thousands and thousands of pieces of lead letterpress type like this one would have been in use, and the type didn't last forever. It wore out and found itself tipped into the river, discarded as it came to the end of its printing life.
What is that? That does look shiny, doesn't it? So I spotted a bit of pot lid. Nicola spotted what you spotted, Nicola?
Well, I've spotted 2 things actually. Some gnashers.
Some gnashers.
Yeah, some gnashers. And look, a nice rounded gold edge here. Let's just take a moment to...
Should we dig that out?
Shall we? Let's see.
Let's
It
see
might
what
be an
that
old
is.
tin, but who knows? I mean, it's always... the excitement is often better than the actual reality, but...
What would you wish it to be, Nicola?
I would wish it to be like a makeup compact or something with somebody's name on it.
Yeah.
Or something.
Da-da-da.
Don't think it's going to be that, but let's have a look. Oh, I don't know what it is though. It doesn't...
Is it a bit of tin?
Oh, I don't know what it is.
Oh,
It's not a compact with a name on it though.
no.
I'll give it a little wash off afterwards and I'll show you what it is.
Give it a little wash.
Yeah, give it a little wash. And
Right.
rinse. And let's just have a look at these, see if there's any teeth in here.
Whoa! Terrifying.
Oh,
Terrifying.
have these as a gift.
As a gift. Oh, Lucy will have those. She loves them.
Alright.
Yeah. Give them to Lucy. I do not want those. What about mudlarking then? Where did it come from?
Well, the original mudlarks were really poor, often children or old ladies. They were the poorest of the poor of society, really. They used to go down to the river at low tide and search around for anything they could find to sell. So it really wasn't something that you would aspire to be. But of course, the modern day mudlarks now, we're going down to the foreshore at low tide to look for history, for London's lost history. And we're learning so much about the history of London through the things that we find. We report our finds if they're over 300 years old or if they're of significant historical interest to the Museum of London, and they're then registered on the Portable Antiquities Scheme database. So that's really important. So yes, we are a lot more fortunate than the old-fashioned mudlarks.
So there you have it. That is mudlarking from Nicola White, icon of mudlarking. A pin! Last time we were on the foreshore, we were finding lots of these pins. You just got to get down and look for them. Lovely little find. Might be a few more around here if I have a little dig around. Little rummage.
In the early 19th century, most clothing was made at home by women and children, and one item that was absolutely necessary for dressmaking was the humble pin.
But making pins was an incredibly time-consuming process, taking up to 18 separate steps to produce one individual pin by hand, and there were factories in Birmingham producing 5,000 pins a day. But these pins aren't handmade, they are the product of the automatic pin-making machines patented in the early 1800s by British and American inventors that revolutionised manufacturing. And the man who changed the face of the industry was John Ireland Howe, an American inventor whose Connecticut factory was churning out upwards of 70,000 pins a day, all made by Howe's machine from a single piece of wire with a flat stamped head, a mechanical marvel. The slowest part of Howe's operation was now putting the pins into their packages. Thanks to Howe, pins became more affordable and commonplace than ever before, and the pin industry exploded, prompting the American Institute of the City of New York to reward him with a silver medal for his contribution to manufacturing.
So another little find, and it looks like one of those perfume bottles.
A tiny little perfume bottle, look at that.
I don't know if it's like, I think they used to call them, was like 1 penny.
1 penny perfumes, yeah.
Something like that. We'll have to have a look, but whoop.
First complete bottle on the Thames.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
So cool.
If you're loving this adventure, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe and support our channel.
Lovely bit of bottle here. Lots of text on it, look. What is it? Hampstead, NW, Paul and Co. Limited. Shame that's not complete, because that would have been a lovely beer bottle. Really nice.
So I might have my first proper find. There's like a glint of gold down here.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Just flip it over.
Oh, look at that.
So
Come on, forward.
what have we got? Is it a naval button?
That's definitely a naval button. Is that the forward anchor?
I think so, yeah. It's like a nice gold one.
Yeah, the Thames really holds the gilt well, doesn't it?
How brilliant.
Really nice find, that.
Woohoo!
Woohoo, look at that! Lucy's first proper find on the Thames. Woohoo!
Still as gold as the day it was dropped, this little button reveals the story behind one of the most feared fighting forces in the entire world.
Dating from 1923 to 1953, this button comes from the tunic of the Royal Marines, a military corps with a rich history, dating back to its founding in 1664 under Charles II, when it was originally known as the Duke of York and Albany's Maritime Regiment of Foot. The Royal Marines have fought at Trafalgar, the Maori Wars, in Africa, won Victoria Crosses in the Crimea, and around the time this button was in service, there were over 74,000 Royal Marines manning landing craft, driving tanks and providing armoured support in World War II, including being part of the largest amphibious operation in history at the Normandy landings in 1944. So could it have been a returning veteran who snagged this button from their jacket, swept up in the joy of making it home?
So we don't know what this is at all, but it's shiny.
It's shiny.
Round.
The washer!
Damn.
Tricking us even when we're not in the field.
That's quite funny.
Lucy's on a roll. What are we
I
seeing
am.
now?
Well, I can see something round here with text on it.
Oh yeah. We like the sound of that. That's what we're after.
And oh, it's quite heavy.
Ooh, it's chunky.
It is chunky and it's got text on it. So it says pull up to open.
Is it lead? Is it part of a lead seal?
I don't know. It's like quite weighty.
Yeah,
I don't know what
like
you'd be
lead.
pulling. But that's kind of cool.
That's pretty cool. I like that. That's a good find there.
What this lead tag should really read is Keep Walking, being part of a new opening system for the biggest Scotch whisky brand in the world.
This is of course Johnny Walker, first started in 1820 when a young farmer's boy turned grocer from Kilmarnock decided the single malts available simply weren't consistent enough, tasting different from every bottle. So he created his own blend, sparking a business that would soon take over the world. And in 1857 his son Alexander did just that, with a little help from the new railway provided by the Industrial Revolution, taking his father's recipes global and creating the iconic square bottle and diagonal label, two inventions which meant less breakages and more bottles per shipment and created an undeniable shelf presence. By 1920, Johnny Walker was available in 120 countries, and in 1934 granted a royal warrant by George V. Now, we don't know whether it was a shipyard worker or an avid socialite who enjoyed a dram of whiskey on the wall above the foreshore in the late 1920s, but we do know they enjoyed it by yanking up on this pull tab and tearing the attached wire through the bottle sleeve, stopping their sweet Scottish nectar, no corkscrew required.
Okay, so it looks like we've got some very manky false teeth here.
Oh no.
Whoa.
Why? Oh, look at them. No, those are
It's
alarming.
missing the front teeth, but it's to add to my collection of false teeth.
It's like three false teeth now.
Yeah, one
Oh.
pair from Nicola, but another set of my own.
Alarming. Incredibly alarming.
John Mortlock could teach us all a thing or two about retail and reselling.
The Mortlock China Company was founded in Oxford Street in 1746, only they didn't actually make any china. Instead, John Mortlock capitalised on merchandising, buying in bulk quality china from the respected manufacturers and insisting this china bore only the Mortlock mark, instead of the original maker. They also often employed independent decorators to provide exclusive finishes to their wares. This was so successful that by the early 19th century, Mortlock was the most important china retailer in London and held incredible influence over the manufacturers. They provided porcelain and wares to Queen Victoria and the royal family, becoming renowned for their high-quality products, and by 1873 brought the iconic British ceramics manufacturer Minton's pottery into their empire, which is exactly what this fragment is from, a piece of Minton ware made in the Hawthorne pattern, retailed under the Mortlock China Company.
Just here, look.
Nice squelchy patch.
There.
Ooh.
This is my spot
Oh
now.
shit,
Oh,
I'm
be
about
careful.
to disappear.
Disappear.
Oh god.
It's a bit more solid here, look.
Ellie's found a nice muddy patch.
That's where the best finds are in the muddy patches. Alright. If I'm not mistaken, I've got a lovely lead seal here, look.
Ooh, oh,
Oh,
look.
So there's a
Great
initials and a number, so that probably relates to the weight of whatever they're being sold. And then more initials on this side, look. Is that ET? Is it ET?
So cool.
Absolutely, I love a lead seal. You can find so much information out about them as
Oh
well.
wow.
But MBLD,
Getting right in Ellie's face.
get around my face. MBLD, it does look like ET on the other side. ET phone home.
Woohoo,
Woohoo!
brilliant.
My first find that's not a pin or a letterpress piece.
Nice work.
Look at
Ellie.
that. Very
Maybe a
happy
good,
with that.
maybe a good patch here, even though they're a bit
Maybe a good patch.
squelchy.
Oh, keep looking.
You could say this is a holy button, and it's holy in more ways than one. For starters, it actually has 4 holes, being the classic 4-holed mass-manufactured button of the Industrial Revolution, but it's also made for a member of the clergy. You see, the makers of this button, Pratt & Sons, could have been found in the Strand, in London, supplying the ecclesiastical robes, cassocks, stoles and related hardware for a little over a century from 1870 until the late 1900s. But what exactly was a member of the cloth doing here on the foreshore? Boarding a boat maybe, or delivering a sermon to travellers setting out on a long voyage?
Bottle stoppers. It seems are like buses. First you can't even find one, then 3 come along all at once.
Don't hate me, but I think I've just found 3 glass bottle stoppers.
What is it that they say about how the Thames likes to sort its artefacts?
Ready? 1.
1,
2,
2, 3. Ah, get them all together. Look at those. 3
How
in
good
one
was
spot.
that?
That's the magic of the Thames for you. Magic of the Thames. Good spotting, Lucy.
Thank you.
Made out of glass, a more expensive alternative to cork or vulcanite, these stoppers have come from bottles that would have been used over time. In this case, 2 classic club sauce bottles and a perfume bottle displaying a decorative finial. Now, London has a rich perfume history. You might even know the oldest perfume house, Florist London, first opened in 1730 by Juan Femenius Floris, and still open to this day in St James's. Juan came to London from Minorca, learning the craft of perfumery in Montpellier en route, becoming famous for perfumes inspired by his Mediterranean home. But we wonder what scent would have engulfed the original owner of this stopper, a Victorian lady perhaps, promenading along the water's edge.
So have we found a good patch?
Maybe, but it's the first coin of the day.
First coin of the day. What is it?
Oh.
1 penny.
1 penny! Look at that! Hooray!
Penny for lot.
So as a mudlark of many years, surely you've had some amazing finds.
I have. I've been so lucky. I found some wonderful things, and it's always hard to choose a favourite find. But as I mentioned earlier, just before we started to mudlark, my favourite kind of finds are those with names on. And I think one of my favourite finds was from last year, and it's a pewter tavern mug with the name of the landlord on,
yeah.
and the name of the pub. So it was James Burrows, Rose and Crown, Lower Thames Street, London. And because obviously there's the name and the address, I was able to look up James Burrows and found out that he was the landlord of the Rose and Crown from 1830 to 1850. And I found some information about him in the newspaper archives. And so, you know, it just came alive. You know, the whole James Burrows kind of came back to life again for a while. So,
That's incredible.
yeah,
That is.
definitely one of my recent favourite finds.
If you love discovering stories with us and Nicola on the foreshore, why not join us for another adventure?
We'd like to say a massive thank you to Nicola White and to all of you out there watching. If you want more Roman Found, then why not check out our channel membership for exclusive behind the scenes content. See you there.
Thanks for watching!